Hello everyone, welcome to the Dev Recap. My name is Michael Schwahn and I'm one of Albion Online's game designers, and I want to talk to you today about combat improvements and adjustments for the next content update. So combat in Albion Online is a very, very central part, and most activities you do kinda are related to that, even if that's not your main activity. So for example, gathering. Gatherers' main activity is gathering, but they still need to fight because they have to fight against potential gankers. And that's a situation where we think right now gatherers don't really shine well. They are a bit in a disadvantaged situation, especially because they don't progress with their main activity. And we want to change this now by introducing gatherer gear. That's a specific gear that you only unlock through gathering. So you will improve your combat abilities, so to say. So you will unlock the next gear on the higher tier, which helps your survivability in a ganking attempt. You will unlock these purely by gathering. So with your main activity, you don't need to go PvE farming to increase your survival chances there. And the gatherer gear will consist of 4 items. That is an armor piece, and a helmet, and shoes, and a big backpack that you can equip on your cape slot. The armor gives you a passive ability that improves your gathering yield and your gathering speed. So say if you're a wood gatherer, you get a wood gatherer armor you can unlock, and this wood gatherer armor gives you a gathering yield and gathering speed bonus on wood. So it makes you better at your specific resource. Also, the armor gives you a spell which is very good for escaping and survivability, and generally relates to your task, that is gathering or carrying a lot of weight. So for instance, you get a defensive buff, but this defensive buff also contains a gathering speed bonus while it's active, so you can chop down trees faster. And also they often have a component which also temporarily increases your max load bonus, or your max load bonus for this resource. This is especially useful for gatherers which get dismounted by gankers, so they can activate their gathering gear abilities to temporarily still be able to move, although they are potentially overloaded. And every gathering armor gets a new unique spell. So we have 5 armors, so for each resource, like wood, ore, and so on. And it may be that you say like, yeah, I have a new cool spell for escaping, but actually I preferred ambush better. It helped me more for my playstyle. And now I have this, so that you don't get this conflict that you say like, oh yeah, I want to have this spell, but I need the bonus from this armor. We will give the gathering armors the best escaping spells as a choice too. So you have them as a off choice. So you can say like, okay, I take ambush rather than my wood gathering spell. And the same will be true for the gathering helmet and the gathering shoes. They will have one unique spell and the best escaping survivability options from the other main items. And if you have specific builds you have been playing as gatherers, please note them in the comments. We would like to see them, that we don't miss any playstyle. So we do our best to put all the spells in we think are the best, but please let us know what you think are the best escaping options, so we can make double sure we don't miss any. And the last part of your gathering gear will be your backpack on the cape slot. This gives you a passive bonus on max load for your resource. So that means like if you're a wood gatherer, you get a big wood backpack, you can carry more wood. you don't get overloaded so fast by it. And all the Gatherer gear items are available from tier 4 up to tier 8, which gives you a nice way of specialization in your role and progress. And I'm really looking forward to it because I think it will make the world of Albion Online way more diverse. If you see like gatherers with their equipment running through the world, and also it will make the very important role of gatherers more meaningful and gives them a better progression in general. And one detail I would like to mention still is if you equip your gatherer gear, you mainly progress through gathering. You unlock the new tiers by gathering, but if you equip your gathering gear and fight mobs, you still get the combat fame for your gathering gear as a specialization, similar to like the normal armor specializations where you get the additional item power for fighting mobs. This is there to so you don't waste the combat fame, so you don't feel like, oh, I need to switch to my combat gear so I don't waste it. So that is one big change. So, and the next one, oh yeah, that's, we also get new armors that's called the Royal Faction armors. We had them in a beta before, and we now we now came back with this concept, which was actually pretty nice, that you get, there's this missions in the new content update called Expeditions, and there you got the, you get royal tokens for clearing them. And with the base resources and the royal tokens, you can now craft royal armors. These royal armors are available from tier 4 to tier 8 and can be fully enchanted like normal gear. They have a bit of an additional extra item power. They're basically artifact level 1. And they're available in plate, leather, and cloth, a complete set with helmet, chest, and shoes, which makes... And all of them have a new unique spell, which give you a new 9 choices for armor spells. These spells are designed to be useful in PvE, so you kind of get something that helps you progress in what you're doing, but they're not exclusively for PvE designed. They of course also have a PvP component, like one example, you can summon a ballista support fire from the Royal Guards, and then you point at a direction, there's an AoE indicator that fills up over time and the ballista falls down. And right now it stuns enemies. We're testing right now the values, if it's too strong or not. It has quite a delay, which makes it easy to use in PvE, but of course it can also be utilized for PvP. And yeah, we are looking forward to see what you guys can come up with, especially with build combinations with these. Which brings us to the last main point, which is like the balance changes and spell reworks in general. And so first off, maybe to give a bit of perspective about our design philosophy, how we see things and what's our goals. So mainly we see Albion Online as a strategic combat more than a Twitch-based or execution-based combat. We have these elements like skill shots and some timing things, but they're not the central part of the combat. The main part is your team composition and your positioning and actually when to use what, countering your opponents. Very, very important for this is your build and your personal build combination, but also like in a team, what are your choices, what are the options of your team. And that is why this build is so very important, that you can build your own character. We have this, you are what you wear, and we design items with specific roles in mind. So say like the dagger line are assassin weapons, and we try to make them best useful for this role. But it's up to you players to how you combine it with the armors and helmets and shoes and spell choices, and to really define your own strategies on the battlefield and not just follow a strict class. But there's some roles that weren't working so great, or where there haven't been so many viable choices and not so many viable items. That's something we have been working on. One thing specifically is tanks right now have a very harsh time. There's only a couple of setups that are played viably, and we are working on that. So for the first thing is we're trying to bring back stronger crowd control duration for tanks, and less crowd control resistance for cloth armor users. So the tanks in the battlefield have more meaning, they can have more impact. Because right now they can survive, the survivability is actually pretty good, but they cannot contribute as much as we would like to the combat right now. There's specific builds like Flail, obviously, or Arcane Staff, which work pretty well, but we would also like to see more CC weapons used in tank and be viable, have more of an impact. Also, we are looking at some of the spells that could be improved on the weapons we think are designed for like maces and on the armor side. Another thing we are not really happy with right now is the mobility in the game, because especially you have too many sources from the armors and helmets on top of everything else, and this makes it very uneven. Like if you stack your mobility really high, there's no way another player can catch you ever. You can always decide if you engage or disengage in the combat, which is so crucial for open world, and that we feel that we need to address it. And first off, we want to remove all move speed from the chest piece and helmets. The spells will not give you any move speed anymore, and you will only get extra mobility from your shoes. Also, the passive spell on the leather armors, which gives you move speed bonus, will be removed. So we kind of flatten it a bit, and you get your main mobility spell from your shoes and some from your weapons. And with the weapon lines, like right now we also feel there's some weapons which offer too much mobility. We like this not synchronous gameplay, but we feel like it's too much out of hand right now, and therefore we are generally toning down mobility boosts in your weapons as well. This also has an impact on the ranged versus melee meter, which right now melee weapons do quite in smaller scale battle, unless it's Zerg vs Zerg, they kind of outperform most ranged weapons, is also due because there's super high mobility in the game. That's ranged weapons cannot really shine, they cannot really utilize their extra range they have, because the melee weapons are instant, can pretty much roll over them most of the time. It's not that black and white all the time, but in general we feel that's a bit too strong right now. And yeah, of course, another big topic is we have a lot of underused items. Famous example is the Hellgate artifact bow, which is right now not very useful, or the .1 bow is another example. And we are reworking a lot of the old underpowered items which haven't been working so well, to give them their defined sub-role and niche. Like, for instance, the Hellgate bow now is a long cooldown, 30-second cooldown, skill shot, which does only high damage, no self-healing anymore. But its unique ability is that the bow itself stacks up the damage the more enemies it hits. So positioning is really important, that you always want a straight line where you pierce through the tank and hopefully hit the most squishy target of the enemy in the line afterwards. And there's a cap, of course. It's not increasing infinitely, so you cannot insta-kill Zergs with it. But yes, there's a lot of abilities we are reworking, where we felt they could basically a lot of the items that were not part of the meta right now. And Yeah, a last point I would like to mention is the Zerg versus Zerg fights, where we feel that right now the big combos, the big pull, and then AoEing everyone to death is too strong right now. And therefore, we are making adjustments to that. So first off, like one big change is there will be a new spell that's called Displacement Immunity, which gives you a self buff and allies in close proximity that they become immune to any forced movement like that, pulls, knockbacks, and fear, like from the firewall, to offer some counterplay to these huge combos. Also, we are looking at some weapons like the flail right now to see if how we can tone it maybe down a bit without making the weapon useless. But right now it feels like the flail, for instance, or before that the Blade Monk staff is almost mandatory as a big initiator of a Zerg vs Zerg fight, and that's something we are not happy because our game resolves a lot about this build specialization, about making your own build, coming up with your own strategies, and it only really and it's really a lot of more fun if you can play so many items and not only are forced to pick some few roles that and few item and build combinations that are viable. So yes, that is this. And that's basically it. So the other things are, of course, a lot of quality of life improvements, like we are improving a bit the controls, we have some fancy new damage numbers and or some effects when you drink a potion and new animations and so on. And a lot of new spells too for the regular weapons, so you get more to look forward in your progression. And overall, I think it's going to be very exciting. I'm really looking forward to the new update. And yeah, see you soon.